Well, first we'd like to welcome everybody to our Thursday night mixer here at the Lake Club, and as you can see, a lot going on. And first of all, thanks to all of you for coming out. We're going to be here every Thursday night, and if you'd like to see the show again, it'll be on Coach Wolford's Facebook page, so you can do Facebook, huh?
Well, we got some producers that can get it done.
It'll also be on YSU Athletics' Facebook page if you want to see the show again. And again, how about a hand for Ed Muransky for hosting this here tonight? This is a great opportunity. We've had some changes with our radio show, so this gives us an opportunity to bring the fans and get the fans part of the program and engaged. And hopefully you'll tell your friends and some other folks, and we'll continue to get a big crowd here on Thursday night. So, Coach, let's get started. The season's off and running. We've got the home opener on Saturday. I talked a little bit today for the radio pregame show. You talked about the opener and the excitement, what a home opener means to you.
Well, it's an opportunity to get back in front of our community. We're excited at the fact that this community has really embraced us. And football is important to this community. There's been a lot of people that have stepped up and stood by us. And obviously we were all disappointed in last year. Even though we felt like we've seen some progress here and there in some areas, at the end of the day we were still disappointed in the end result, and that's the record. And we want to get back to playing Youngstown State football, and I feel like we're a lot closer to doing that. And football is important to these kids. Winning's important, doing the right things, saying yes, sir, no, sir, all those type of things. And I feel like we're on our way to getting back to the standard around here.
And I'll let you jump in, but I know everybody looks at the game differently, and the way I look at it's different than you. And I know you being a former offensive lineman and a great lineman, you look at things in the trenches, and I know immediately during the game and after you talked about the line, and you really liked Mark Pratt and Lamar Mady, two newcomers on that offensive line that I thought played well, along with holdovers Andrew Radakovich, Chris Elkins, and DJ Main. That was an area you thought, both sides, we held our own against Michigan State, and from a physical standpoint, they didn't push us around.
No, and it was evident from the first series, and it was there on the last series. I mean, from an offense and defensive line standpoint, I think we were as advertised. When you have an offense last year scoring over 31 points a game, we averaged over 400 yards. I mean, my big question is, could you repeat it? I mean, in most years, if you're averaging 31 points a game, you're in the playoffs and, playing deep into November. And, in talking to Shane Montgomery, he felt going into the game, Coach, that we were better at every position. Even the guys that were the starters last year were bigger, better, smarter, and, especially the offensive line took a step forward. I mean, I thought our offensive line did a very serviceable job from a depth standpoint last year. We weren't very deep, and I think that we did a lot with it. My big question mark offensively was more wide receiver-wise as well, what was going to happen. You had Dominique Barnes that was kind of head and shoulders above everybody. And, you had some freshmen step up and, not be afraid the first game under the lights. And, the offense is going to hopefully take a step even forward from where we were last year, which is real exciting.
Well, I know, Coach, and Ed mentioned the receivers. I remember the first practice I came to this summer, one of the first things you said to me is, you're going to like number 2. And number 2 is Christian Bryan, a true freshman, 5'10", 180 out of Irwin, Pennsylvania, just west of or east of Pittsburgh. And you look at him and you think, well, how's he going to take the field? What am I going to like about him? And then you start seeing him running routes and you're catching the football. 6 receptions, just missed that one. He was open, would have been a touchdown. It was just maybe Kurt just missed him a bit. What is it about him that makes him unique and so gifted that he can go up against a team like Michigan State and get off to such a good start?
He has unbelievable confidence in himself and his abilities. He has tremendous work ethic. He's a student of the game, and it's important to him. He comes from a blue-collar family. His dad spent 20 years in the military, so he comes from that type of a family. He reminds me of a Youngstown guy, and I think this community is really going to jump behind him and embrace him because he's just not a one-hit wonder. I think he's a guy that's going to be around for a long time and do things right. He'll become a coach on the field, and he's just such a likable kid that when you're around him, you can't help but just smile and say, that's the kind of guys we need here in this program.
And is that, when I look at our program and where we've been and where we're going, that seems to be an area maybe we haven't done quite as well as we can do, Western PA, Pittsburgh area especially. Has that been a focal point for you?
Well, I feel like Western Pennsylvania has a lot of the same traits and characteristics of a Youngstown, meaning steel town, blue collar, tough, hardworking people. Family's important to them. Being accountable to your family is important. And that's the thing that I see with him is it's important for him to go out and play well. It's not okay to drop footballs. And he represents his family in a lot of ways. And being that Pittsburgh is so close to us, it's 1 hour away. And we can get into Western Pennsylvania and get in there and recruit. And I feel like there's a lot of players between Pittsburgh and Erie, Pennsylvania, that kind of go unnoticed. We've got 2 coaches in that, actually 3 coaches in that area alone in recruiting. We're going out tomorrow night down there and going to do some recruiting in that area and jump on some guys here early that we've already identified through camp that we feel like are potential, another Christian Bryan that a lot of people don't know about.
I want to mention that before I let you jump in. We want to make this format interactive with you, and you're the core of YSU football fans being out here tonight. So we're going to take questions later. So if you have questions for Coach Wolford or for Ed or myself, please, we want to get your input and take your questions later. Ed?
I just want, this is an important announcement. If I could have the waitress's attention right here 1 second. Make sure everyone gets a drink on the Lake Club because we'll sound a little better. So go to every table, whatever they're drinking, get one on the Lake Club tonight. And it's, we are very, very excited to host this mixer. Obviously, from my standpoint, living in Youngstown, being on the periphery of Youngstown State, and having last year to travel with a lot of you and be so much a part of the team, it's a heartbeat of our town, and we're going to grow this thing. So make sure everybody who's here tonight, this is not going to get worse. We're going to have more fun. There's going to be more crazy stuff happening, and Sam Cavelli has a hell of a place there, but we'll do our best to make sure you go home.
And I just saw tonight. 2 people go from water to Crown Royal.
That's good. Okay, so. That's our drink here, Crown Royal and Goose.
But Coach, and I'll let Ed jump in as well. We're talking a little bit about the offense, and I know you weren't pleased with the total number rushing, but Jermaine Cook gets 76 yards, Jordan Thompson gets 30. You want to rush for 200 yards, but those guys look like that tandem, and then you throw in Bellamy as another guy in there. And even if you go one deeper, Torian Pace, I don't know how he gets any touches, but he's very talented. That area looks like we're going to be really good again at running back.
I think we have a chance to be pretty good there. We were a little disappointed, actually, in just our pad level in general. And I think sometimes when you play a team that's equal to you or better and you don't consistently keep your pad level down, you'll take a shot and not gain as many yards after contact. And after breaking down the film, we showed Jordan Thompson, we showed Cookie that, hey, there's probably about another 50 yards out there if you get your pads down. And then we also talked a little bit with the receivers about, when we run an outside running play, block the outside number. Here's why. And if we get a couple of those blocks, it might be 7 points instead of just a 7-yard gain.
There weren't many offensive plays where we ran the ball Friday night where we didn't get 3 or 4 yards. Mm-hmm. And what I like is when you get a lead that we're going to have, you can't totally put it on the defense all the time. The offense has to finish a game, and the way you finish a game is you run the ball. Any great championship team has a great defense, but it has an offense that could run the ball at will. When the defense knows the ball is coming at them running, and they can't do anything about it. And I feel we have the offensive line, running backs, and as you said, they have to do their thing. But you were swinging a pretty big stick Friday night against some damn good defensive linemen in Michigan State. A couple of them are going to be playing on Sunday next year. That's a key to our team this year. I know there's been a lot of focus on the improvement on the defense, which has happened. But offensively, you have to be able to run the ball and finish a game.
Yeah, and you're right, Eddie. And you played at Michigan, so if you can run the football, it's demoralizing to a defense. And if you have a lead late in the game and you can pound on them, you're going to win. You're going to be able to put the game away.
And it brought back great memories. I played a couple times at Michigan State Stadium there. We did pretty well, and there was a lot of talking that went on. But most of the games we told the defensive linemen where we were running, and they couldn't do anything about it. Yeah. And that's every time I have a chance at practice, I saw Coach Basillo here. I talk to our offensive linemen about that, and they have that kind of attitude. That's the kind of attitude you have to have on the offensive line, that even if the guy over you and the linebackers know where it's coming, that you're going to control the line of scrimmage. You have to do that with good footwork, good technique, and skill, and they have the talent. I mean, you have the talent. Our starting offensive line, with the work you did bringing in a couple JUCO guys and some of the younger guys that have stepped up. I mean, I didn't recognize DJ Main from the spring to the fall practice. DJ Main is 25, 30 pounds heavier. Radakovich looks like a different person. But, at the end of the day, they have to play together, and knock on wood, we have to stay healthy.
Coach, we talk a lot about your assistant coaches on the broadcast, and you have some really good ones. And a new one, but not a new face, is Mike Cochran, your strength and conditioning. And he's worked, I think, wonders with your team. We knew in the big picture Mike Cochran will come home, former player here, part of the great teams. I know he was part of that 89 team that made the playoffs and beat Eastern Kentucky. He's done a phenomenal job in a short period of time, hasn't he?
Well, you look at what he's done in 3 months. I mean, he's been on the job for 3 months. And, that was an area of our football team that I felt like we were not up to the standard. And, you have to realize how important it is in the weight room. To me, there's no way that there's other teams in our league that have more talent, or maybe not as much talent, should be beating us. And Youngstown State football, you should be winning on the line of scrimmage. And Coach Cochran has stressed that. He has an unbelievable ability to relate to players. They've taken a liking to him. He worked with them all summer. We know that us coaches can't be around these guys in the summer, and what he's been able to do with these guys over the course of the summer in 3 months, imagine when he has a year or two. It's going to be a great situation for Youngstown.
Coach, one final thought on the game with Michigan State, and we'll move on. Early in the game, I think at one point you had 7 first downs, they had 0. You were able to get into their territory 2 or 3 times, but not get points. But in a game like that, to beat a Michigan State, you've got to score early and take advantage of those opportunities. But do you look at that as a positive?
The positive is that we were able to move the ball. We talked about it as a staff. I said, we got to possess the football, and we talked about possessing the football, going out on defense, and trying to get 3 and outs. And obviously, we were able to do that in the first half. Disappointed in the fact that we didn't get more points on the board, but we're a work in progress. By no means are we a finished product. Our goal is to continue to improve. One of our fundamentals for success is to improve every day. You either get better or you get worse, and we have to constantly push and try to get these kids to understand that that's what we have to do to become the program we're expected to be.
What about defense, Ed? I think Aronde Stanton, Andrew Johnson up front, both Michigan guys, so maybe they're a little more fired up. Defensive line held its own. Done the offensive line that we thought played well, but that defensive line, we saw a lot of improvement, didn't we?
Daniel Stewart,
right?
And for the most part, there were probably 2/3 of the defensive plays. You had 4 guys rushing the passer, and I thought they held their own against the rush. And from our standpoint, you would like to have had a few more sacks than 1. But there were 2 or 3 missed holding calls, and they held their own. You just, I kind of, everyone asked me the next day, what did you think? What did you see? And I really saw Michigan State playing Indiana, not playing Youngstown State, from a defensive and offensive line standpoint. In that, I thought we had to play our best game to win. We made a couple mistakes. We had a couple drops. We had a couple penalties. We had a couple missed assignments. So it didn't happen. But it certainly, if you turned on the Big Ten Network and watched the game, it wasn't a step down substantially, overall from a talent standpoint.
Coach, you see it that way as well?
Well, we're getting close. We're getting closer, but you can't ever become content. And hopefully we can start to expect to win those games as a team and as a community. We expected to win on Monday. These kids, they kind of had their head down a little bit, and because they really legitimately expected to win. So that's a good sign. But here in the near future, we need to start beating those type teams.
Your 2 safeties, Josh Garner and Jeremy Edwards, combined for 21 tackles, I think, in the first half. We were calling Edwards' name the entire first half. He had 8 tackles. 2 guys, one wasn't even in the program last year, Edwards. Garner didn't really make an impact. He really played special teams. How did you evaluate their play?
Well, that's another compliment to Coach Cochran. He got Garner, physically ready to play. And that's something that he lacked coming out of high school. But he's done an impressive job. I think also that's a classic story of you go out and recruit a couple safeties or a bunch of them, and here's a guy that's in your program, and he says, you know what, I'm not going to let those guys take my job. I promise you at Kansas State, every year I was there, they recruited guys to take my job. But you know what, I wasn't going to give it up. And that's what happened with Josh Garner. You're not taking my job. This is my job, and I'm going to keep it. Jeremy Edwards, we got him out of California. He just got here in August. He's been with our program now for about 46, 47 days. And he's got a bright future. He's still got a lot of things to learn. But we have both of those guys in positions where they need to make some tackles and be very active in a lot of the things we're asking them to do.
Ed, what I thought was impressive, you look at them. Garner 6'1", 205, Edwards 6'1", 210. They look like big-time safeties physically, and that's what you need back there, guys that can run and guys that can hit.
Well, I have news for you. Valparaiso got our film from Michigan State, and they probably were watching on the Big Ten Network. And there's a couple wide receivers going to be a little bit worried coming across the middle with a couple of the hits that were put on some guys. And it, between the talent that is now there and everyone has stepped up, you have people from even on the defensive side that are bigger and faster. But, the thing that I saw this year, I think you guys as coaches, and tell me if I'm wrong, last year you felt comfortable with about 10.5 guys on defense. There was probably a guy every game that was out there playing that probably shouldn't have been on the field, but had to be on the field. Guys that were getting beat or hurt, and you'd look behind you to put somebody in, and there wasn't anybody there. This year, I legitimately feel the starters are the starters, but you have another 8 or 9 guys. You have 20 or 21, 22 guys that could spell people, and you saw it Friday night. They could go, take some snaps, take 10, 12 snaps a game, and the cumulative effect of that is in the fourth quarter, you don't have your guys taking every snap when you have an offense like some of the offenses coming at us. And you saw it in the Michigan State game. I mean, we did not play substantially different defense in the fourth quarter than what we did in the first quarter, in my opinion.
We like Thomas Sprague in the spring. He can spell somebody. Dom Rich can come in, local kid, and play. And you're right, the drop-off's not there. So there is more depth there. And some of those guys now can play special teams. And I know that there's been a lot of talk about the blocked extra point and the missed field goal. But overall, I thought your coverage was pretty good. I think Stubbs is going to break one before the year's out. I see an upgrade there as well, Coach.
I think we're a lot better on special teams. The block, that was an offensive line issue there with a guy. The other guy jumped the ball, and we didn't anticipate the snap count. But at the end of the day, it was a block. But we don't expect that to happen again. And our coverage was good. I feel like we needed to recruit a lot more defensive players because the majority of your defensive players fill your special teams. And we have a lot of young kids out there playing, and their role may this year be play 10 plays on defense and then play a bunch of special teams. But it gives us a chance to be better as a team.
How much do you like Stubbs? 5'6", 160, freshman out of Maple Heights. I mean, he's could be dynamic.
He's exciting. It's when he has the ball in his hands, you can tell real quick that he's fast. He's got some wiggle to him. He's got a little bit more toughness to him than I thought too. So I'm excited about him, and we're going to get him back there and give him a couple punt returns too this week and see what he can do.
But he took some shots. I mean, he took some legitimate big-time shots on a couple of the reverses and came up and had the swagger about him. And that's what you worry about. I mean, you have 4 of your receivers last year were playing at the Mooney Boardman game, and now they're at the Michigan State Stadium. I mean, legitimately. And you worry about that, and that they don't have a year or two with Coach Cochran. You don't have a year of knowing what's going on. So you worry about them mentally and physically whether they could hold up. And once again, those guys did their job. They caught the ball for the most part. And they took a hit against a pretty big stick.
Coach, it's a sort of a role reversal this week. You go to Michigan State, and they're a prohibitive favorite. This week, everybody thinks Valpo is going to come in. You're going to stick it to them. Hopefully, we'll put one on them. But they are a Pioneer League team. They have lost 21 games in a row. They were beaten by Franklin 49-35. But they throw the football. Their quarterback put up 448 yards. The following week, we're going to see a team that throws the football quite a bit in Illinois State. So I think it's a good thing we get this kind of matchup. How do you feel about it?
Well, the first thing is coach has a reputation of turnaround programs. And obviously he didn't get off to the start that they wanted to get off to. But, they did put some points up. Got a freshman quarterback in there. Got 9 different receivers they gave the ball to. So it'll be a challenge for us at the end of the day because you got to still be assignment sound and correct. You turn a guy free, it doesn't matter if you're talented or not. That guy's running free for a touchdown. So there is a challenge there. And, there's an expectation now that we need to come out and play football like we're capable of. And we still have a lot of things after that Michigan State game that we felt like we want to improve on. There was a couple of things coverage-wise that we felt like we needed to capitalize on, some communication things that we should have done better. Young players or not, it's no excuse. Right. And we need to come out and show that we can execute all 4 quarters every play.
And, with a Valpo, obviously you should win. There's a lot of negatives that are in their past. But at the end of the day, the biggest improvement on any football team, whether it's pro, Boardman, Youngstown State, is from week 1 to week 2. The jitters are out. You know what's out there. You know who could play, who can't, what improvement you have to make. And to me, every week you get better or worse. And this is a tough mental game because you have to keep your focus. I saw good things in practice this week, that the focus was there. And you have to go out and get better this week, do your job. And if you do your job, you should be on the good side of it. But this is an important week for Youngstown State football because you don't have those 2 games like we had last year at home. You don't have a Butler and a Connecticut State. You go right into league play. So this is an important week. And when I went down to watch practice, I was hoping that I was going to see what I saw, that the guys weren't just throwing their helmets on the field. And Coach, you did a good job keeping their focus. But this is one that we have to take a step forward at every position. We played okay, but we're not the champions of the league, or we're not in the playoffs yet.
Well, I think you hit it right on. You want to look sharp because you go right in a league game at home. I know one of your goals is to win every game at home, so this is a good start before we head into a conference game next week. Coach, just overall, you look at the league, a lot of the teams opened up against big-time opponents. I think if you look at it on paper, maybe you think Northern Iowa had the most impressive showing. Iowa State's not Michigan State, but still, they led late in that game before losing. Missouri State took one on the chin at Arkansas. But were you impressed with what Northern Iowa did at Iowa State?
I was very impressed. I kind of expected it, though. I knew that they had a good football team. Obviously, playing up at Iowa State myself, being when I was at Kansas State. And that's a team that I feel like Northern Iowa can match up. You play on a neutral site, it's probably Northern Iowa. And, that's kind of this part of this deal where you go and play them at their place. But Northern Iowa's got a good football team. Indiana State was obviously at Penn State there. And then, the other game that was kind of intriguing was Southern Illinois seems to be back on track. That's the team that knocked them off last year. And seem like they're backfiring on all cylinders again.
We definitely want to get your questions. So I'm not sure how we're going to do that question segment, where they're going to ask from, or if they're going to ask from out of the audience. But if you have a question, maybe put up your hand and let us know. And everybody has a different perspective, and we like Tony LaRisha in the back. Go ahead, Tony. Ask the first question. Question is, how's Pat White doing? So Trevor's going to help us with the microphone. We appreciate it. Pat White, I know we had some injuries, and that's a good point. How hit on Pat, maybe some of the other injuries.
Pat will be back after the off week. He'll probably be back. We could probably rush it and be back for Illinois State, but I think in the best interest of the program, for his health and everything, it'll probably be South Dakota State after the off week.
Anything, Coach? I know there were some other names we saw. You're going to wait and see Saturday, injury-wise. On
Kevin Watts, we're going to hold. He had a slight concussion, and I don't like to take chances with concussions because you go out there and ring your bell again, you'll be out for 10 days, 2-3 weeks. So, best thing to do is just go ahead and be precautionary.
We've got the mic here, so Trevor will bring the mic around. So, Coach, we have this good-looking woman in the back that's going to grill you with a question right now, Coach.
Kevin is doing great, and he was in my class yesterday, and he said he did not need sunglasses.
Yeah, that's one of my policies. If you get a concussion, make sure you have sunglasses on.
Yeah, he's doing great, though. He really was coherent there, no problems. Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear. I know you're going to suffer injuries during the year, but you hope they're minimal and they aren't guys that they're lost for a long period of time. So again, Trevor has the microphone. If someone else has questions about Tony, you're up again.
I like Andrew Johnson when he hit his chest and he said I over moved.
Well, as long as he doesn't get those personal fouls, we'll be in good shape.
Other questions for Coach out there tonight?
I have one. Obviously, practice is different than the games. what was your biggest surprise positively Friday night of your players?
I was surprised that our young receivers played that well. We had so many young guys out there playing, and I didn't know what to expect. I kind of thought they might get caught up in the lights a little bit, and they had to step up. We weren't getting some production like we expected out of a couple guys, and we threw them in there, and they stepped right in like it was no big deal. So that was probably one of the things that I probably didn't expect.
It did not seem at all as though your young guys went in there in front of 75,000 and were wide-eyed and intimidated by that atmosphere. They're like, okay, let's go play and let's get it done.
They're a confident group, but that's why we recruited them too.
Over here, we got questions.
Coach, if my memory serves me right, you've got 2 linebackers that are freshmen.
Yes, we do.
How'd you evaluate their play?
We felt like Davion Rogers out of Warren, Ohio, from Harding there. He played fairly well, for a freshman first game. It's been a long time since he's played. He's been out for a year, but he's a guy that we have to continue to get to improve every week. But he's really talented. I mean, he covered their number 2 receiver down the field like it was nothing. And I mean, he's 6'7", almost 6 foot, 6'7", 200 pounds, and can run like a deer. Then the other guy, Travis Williams, the kid we got out of Miami, he had a good first game, a solid outing. It's the first time he's really played in the box. A lot of people don't know this, but he played a lot of receiver in high school and a little bit of defense. University of Miami signed him because obviously he's 6'3", 215 pounds, and was the fastest kid in the state of Virginia. So, he's still learning how to play in the box a little bit as a linebacker. He had the fastest time at Penn State's camp, electronic 4.36. So he's a work in progress, but they are freshmen, so we have to keep that in mind sometimes. I tell my coaches that all the time when they're going crazy. I'm like, listen, this guy's a freshman. Relax. He's going to have a couple mistakes. We got to continue to teach him.
Well, Travis Williams, you mentioned originally at Miami, and then you have on the other side Davion Rogers, originally signed with Michigan. And I find it interesting you tell your coaches to relax because you're always calm, cool, and collected on the sideline.
Well, I'm the only one that's thought.
You had all your timeouts left at the end of the game, so I was.
Well, hopefully I don't have to use all
that's a step
timeouts.
forward.
Yeah, I feel like we have a bad call, and I'll call timeout before I want to see a bad play being ran.
But it is interesting. I had conversations with Wolf last year on his philosophy, and it was, I've got a young team. They're learning my system, and I'm not going to have a mistake happen out there because they're out of position. I really don't care when I use my timeout. So on a personal basis, seeing the timeouts left meant to me that the team was at least for the most part in the right spots, not having issues, because you need those timeouts. I mean, at the end of the day, when you have a young team, it's more important to not give up a touchdown than to have a timeout.
That's right.
You still, in a couple of games last year, would have loved to have a couple timeouts to do some things.
Right.
I think there's little mini stories within our program, and we make fun of the timeouts, but it is one of them. I mean, that was your philosophy. You had to do it last year. You had people out of position. You had defenses that were really spelled at crazy times, and we didn't have timeouts going into the end of the second quarter, into the fourth quarter. So I thought it was a step forward.
Question in the back.
Coach, it was so hot out there. What kind of adjustments did you have to make that you wouldn't have had to if it was a nice, cool day in Youngstown?
Well, we were kind of concerned going into the game when I heard how hot it was going to be. We stopped at a rest stop. The bus drivers had to get out, and I said, man, it seems awfully hot out there. And he said, yeah, it's pretty hot. So, things you always want to make sure you have. You want to make sure you have IVs at halftime in case you need them. But we did a good job at breakfast making everybody eat a banana. A lot of guys don't like to eat bananas. That's not cool. And then, when we gave them a snack there at the midway point during the day on Friday, we had them eat another banana again. Obviously pumped a bunch of water in them. And, it worked out just right. So we were fortunate we didn't have anybody cramping. I was concerned. I was concerned about probably 2 or 3 guys that have a history of cramping, but fortunately we didn't, and that's obviously a compliment to our strength and conditioning program, and that makes sure these guys are ready to play.
so everybody knows, our goal on Thursday nights is to go 30, 35 minutes, talk about the previous game, look ahead, take questions from you. I think it really helps when we get your input and then have some giveaways. So, hey, again, Coach, just some final thoughts as we wrap up. We'll be on again with our pregame show at 3:30, tailgate show 3 o'clock. I know all these people are going to be out there at the stadium, but we hope you'll listen to the broadcast as well. Coach, your thoughts and what you hope to accomplish on Saturday. You touched on you want to be sharp, you want to get ready for Illinois State. But anything you want to finish up with?
Well, obviously, we want to thank all of you guys for being here. This is a big part of what we're trying to do. This is for you. This is the fans. It's going to help us in recruiting in a lot of ways, continue to develop our program, continue to market our program. We all know what's expected around here, and it's going to take a community effort and it's special people like you that make a difference. I can assure you that. We just need to go out and play well, take care of football, and play like we're capable of. And, let's go out and show what Youngstown State football is all about and what it's like to come here and play in the Ice Castle.
Yeah, this is a beautiful place. We're glad to be here. We'll be here every Thursday. Your thoughts as we look ahead to Saturday?
Personally, I want to make sure we score every time we get the ball. You have a shutout, not from a 0, but from no first downs. And legitimately, that's how they have to go into the game. And that's how they have to mentally be at. And it's a building block. I want to be better. I want to sit with you after the game, feel that we focused on the game, that we got better, and that we're ready for league play. And that I think, and Coach and I talked all through camp, that I think the talent is there. The question right now is, are they going to become a team? Are they going to get better every week? And, I think all the elements are there. The coaching's there. From a recruiting, you have 50 new players. That's never going to happen again as long as Wolf is a coach there. Having 50 new people. The orchestration of getting those people together was amazing. They're in the position. Can they be a team? Can they focus week to week? Can they get better? And each week is a stepping stone. But I feel that, after seeing what I saw last year with the talent that was there and what we accomplished, obviously it wasn't in the records, but with what we accomplished, I think it's there for the taking. If the mental side of this game gets better.
All right, again, 4 o'clock kickoff. We know all of you will be there, and we'll be back here next Thursday at 7. Again, thanks to everybody for coming out tonight. Thanks a lot, guys.